Hello, welcome to Hope for Flint. I'm your host, Kristen Wolosinovich. Very excited to have my friend Chris Duncan in the downtown Hope for Flint studios in the Ferris Wheel building. Welcome, Chris Duncan.
Hello.
And I'm so excited to have you on the show. You've been on another show of mine, but you are student intern for Odyssey House Community Involvement, correct?
That's correct.
And then you also handle admissions and intake for Flint Odyssey House. Real briefly for our viewers and listeners, tell folks what the Odyssey House is.
The Odyssey House is a multi-component treatment center. We handle residential treatment, outpatient, recovery housing, adolescents, women's specialty services.
Okay, very good. So it's when you say treatment center, drug-related, alcohol-related, substance abuse.
Correct.
Mental health treatment as well?
We do accommodate people with high mental health.
Wow. How long have you been with Odyssey House?
I've been involved with Odyssey House for about 2 years now.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What brought you to Odyssey House? Did you yourself go through the program?
I went most of the way through the residential program, and then I've currently transitioned into the recovery housing outpatient side of things.
And now you're like a real leader in the program.
I don't know if I'd say that, but I definitely do a lot to try to give back.
I would say it. I'll toot your own horn for you, having gotten to know you. Mm-hmm. You were on one of our shows, Kaiba Health and Life, and we were talking about the opioid crisis.
Correct.
And you were sharing, you have no problem sharing your story.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Tell me a little bit about your story, because what has happened, I think the shift in our society, we obviously have a crisis throughout our country.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just growing more and more as the pharmaceutical companies do more with opioids and things like that.
Genesee County is not exempt from it, nor is race, religion, gender, socioeconomic. It's affected, people think it's, whatever, an inner city drug. Nope, it's hitting your suburbs, it's hitting your children, it's hitting all over. It does not discriminate.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I don't think that Odyssey House... or not Odyssey House. I don't think that the opioids or addiction in general really discriminates against anybody.
Exactly. And so we say, we kind of look at the history of how the drug crisis, especially opioids, has kind of progressed. It starts with, we're saying maybe we're talking prescription meds, correct, for pain management.
Right.
Do you think the physicians knew at the time that these pain relievers were going to cause this epidemic?
Yes, I personally believe that.
You do. So once they get the pain medicine, then that has now, they stopped it because there's now massive federal regulation. And then once they don't get their Vicodin or their oxycodone, then they turn immediately to?
Heroin, fentanyl now, really.
Really? So what you're seeing, and it's so funny because I ran into a friend of mine who now does undercover work, and I said, and he's working specifically within the drug culture. And I said, why, if you're selling drugs and you have this product, why are you killing your people? And his response was that when someone dies, that actually is a compliment to the drug that they're providing because it's showing that it's very potent and it's all fentanyl related. Please explain that to me.
So, from my own experience, I think that there's multiple factors really that play into it. First of all, is fentanyl is really cheap to get, and they can use pretty much any kind of different filler type base to mix it with.
Okay.
And so we have these people in their garages and stuff just mixing random stuff with fentanyl.
Got it. They're like their own scientists in the garage.
Right.
Got it.
And these people are not like pharmacists or chemists or doctors.
That's
so
right.
They're just kind of...
And sorry to interrupt, and the people that are deep in the addiction, they're smart people, but they're desperate.
Yes.
Yes. So they will take whatever they can to ease the physical pain of what's going on.
There comes a point in addiction, particularly with opiates, where the sickness that you feel when you don't have it starts to outweigh any other rational thought that you have.
Okay. Yeah, it overtakes, right, the logic within your brain.
You lose your choice.
And you went through that journey.
I did.
And, we're in a society too, like I said, I always am an advocate for people telling their story of struggle, because their story of struggle will save a life, and no one is exempt from struggle.
Oh, absolutely not.
So you go through the program. Odyssey House, located here in Flint, Michigan, has seriously changed and saved countless lives. And obviously you are testimony to that.
I'd been to another number of treatment centers in my madness, and
because you're not from Genesee County or for Flint, you live here now, but you've traveled the country, and so you're worldly. You've met a lot of people, and you've been to different treatment centers.
Yeah. I've never seen miracles work in any place like they do in Odyssey House, honestly. Other treatment centers are really good and they have their purposes, but the people who are successful in those shorter term treatments, I've noticed typically still have like good support networks.
Sure.
Outside, they still have families. Odyssey House, the people that I've seen be really successful that wouldn't be elsewhere, those that have kind of really reached the end of the road,
Right.
burned all the bridges.
Right.
And then Odyssey kind of breaks people down and builds them back up again.
It breaks them to their core. Mm-hmm. And they got there with their own, on their own 2 feet. They got to the bottom of the barrel, and Odyssey House just puts that big mirror in front of them.
Yeah. Core issues is a thing that you hear a lot when you're inside of there. And those are those kind of break you down to your core sort of things that get addressed there.
Got it. So you go through the treatment program, and it has been successful for you, and you now are employed by Odyssey House. How exciting is that? Well, you're a student intern, mm-hmm. So you are working, with Odyssey House in community involvement. You're starting to do events. What does this involve? Is it education, awareness, outreach? I would assume all of the above.
Yeah, it's just kind of making people aware of the services that Odyssey provides.
Right.
It's sharing the story of what it did for me personally.
Okay.
And just kind of getting the information out there so that people know that those resources for help are there.
And, you had a chance to talk to my mom the other day, who was one of the originating employees on the healthcare side with Odyssey House back in the 70s. So I grew up, right when Odyssey House was launched, and it has evolved quite a bit, but my goodness, has it ever saved lives? And it must be an honor and privilege for you to be able to go speak on, and it speaks volumes to you because they are a very well-respected organization, for you to be a brand ambassador.
I am really passionate about anything that really has to do with Odyssey at all. They gave me my life back, so mm-hmm. I want to give back anything I can.
I think it's so important too, because even she asked you some questions like, do they treat men as well? And you said, oh yeah. And then she said, I had heard it was just women and families. And you said no. And then I also asked you if they treat the heroin withdrawal from a medical standpoint. And you said, oh yes. So they've quite evolved. And I think it's so important for someone like me, or even my mom, who was an original employee, who feel we are in the know and know a lot. There are things we didn't know or were aware of that needs to be shared to the public.
So I haven't seen anything. There's like 2 or 3 things that Odyssey can accommodate. And they have programs specifically for women with children. We do have our Saginaw location that is just women and their children. We accommodate men, adolescents, children, family reunification. They've pretty much got all the bases covered.
That's amazing. And what about for people who think, I have no health insurance, I have nothing?
That is not a factor. Odyssey will help you get the insurance, and they'll bring you into treatment in the meantime.
So regardless, if you are struggling right now, you need to get in there, because they will help you. And if you're afraid that you're going to go, I've had the privilege to sit in with outpatient support groups, and women and men would say they were afraid to go into treatment because they thought they had to go through the withdrawal on their own with their own will. And that's just not the case.
No, Odyssey has a full medical staff at our Flint location that help you all the way through that process.
Excellent. And where are the locations here in Flint, Michigan?
In Flint, I believe that Odyssey owns like 190 properties. I mean, there's like 15 recovery houses. There's the Community Involvement Center at 932 Beach Street.
Okay.
There's our residential facility at 529 MLK.
Martin Luther King, so it's right downtown. And there's numbers. All you have to do is Google, or you can physically enter one of these locations, and they'll get you where you need to be for intake and admissions, which is something you also handle.
Yes, I do.
Tell me about that process.
So typically what will happen is somebody calls looking for help, or they get referred to us by Genesee Health Systems or their case manager, whatever the case might
Or they
be.
could be in the court system.
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
There's all sorts, or they come in of their own free will because they know they can't do it on their own.
Correct. And so they call us. We have like 25 questions that we ask them over the phone. After that, our supervisor will approve them to come in typically. And usually we can get people in the same day.
Wow. That's incredible, because you rarely hear that. People think that they have no hope, that they're lost, because they are dying. They are dying at a critical mass rate. And now they're using Narcan, correct?
Correct.
And it's a nasal spray, or else it can be injected. Where else?
I mean, yeah, there's the injection form of it. There's the nasal spray form of it. And there are a lot of locations in Flint that do the Narcan training and provide that.
And I know a lot of family members have that because these kids or their children or their sister, brother, or parents are dying.
And it's crazy that it's so widespread that Narcan is almost probably more common.
It's like
even
milk,
than like
having milk in fridge. Yeah, it's just like everyday life. So I'll tell you a couple personal stories. I do have a family member who was raised like a sibling with me, and his mom actually is a therapist as well. And it started out with Vicodin and then transitioned into heroin. And he truly was, a very happy married man, 3 children, lived in the suburbs, and it broke into his core and broke up the family. And it was very crazy. And my aunt had to literally save his life on multiple occasions. She's a nurse, but she's also a therapist, but she's a registered nurse as well. And he went into the legal system, and he had to come clean. Literally, I mean, when you're in jail, that's just what happens. And he now is like sitting next to you. It's a light, and it's love and heaven and energy. And it doesn't even faze him to go back to that life. And he's found his new life, and his ex-wife is doing, like, everybody has landed on their feet, and it was quite an ordeal. And I can't even imagine what my aunt went through. But here's the deal. Great mom, great family. It does not discriminate against anyone.
Oh, no, it definitely doesn't.
So you have a case where this has become the normal within our society. Then I've met people who've gone to Odyssey House because they were court ordered. I have friends that have gone to Odyssey House because they walked in and they're like, I have a curfew. I'm living in residential housing or independent housing, or the terms that you use. And I said, oh my goodness, were you court ordered? Why are you there? He said, no, I couldn't do it on my own. I walked in here and did it on my own. You have every single kind of case. What was your case to go into Odyssey?
My case was willingly. I had just I'd exhausted all of my resources. I'd burned all my bridges with my family. I was at the end of the road with nowhere to turn, and Odyssey was there.
Now, have you started to mend those bridges with your family members?
Yeah, me and my stepmother, we have a pretty close relationship now.
Love that.
She actually just came with me to the Madness to Miracles event that Odyssey puts on, so that was a really therapeutic and healing experience.
I love that. And I love that her willingness to open up and forgive and welcome you back into her life. And that's what's really important to family members who are angry. We get it, right? We get it. We understand it, but it's kind of like that resentment and anger is drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die. It's really, and it was really important for you to work hard to mend these relationships that really mattered to you, that you felt, you broke trust with. And that's part of the Odyssey program too.
One thing that I'm grateful for now that I'm clean, that I was really angry about in my madness is that my family, they really didn't enable me much at all. They let me go through my sickness until I got to that point where it hurt bad enough that I was willing.
Wow. And that is sometimes tough love.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it go both ways, where there are enablers and those people just aren't going to let their family member fail, and it's just going to happen regardless. And then I've seen it on the opposite side of the spectrum, such as your family, that said, all right, we're going to watch his kind of craziness. And with that, it's very scary, though, because you have clinically died.
Yeah, I've overdosed 5 or 6 times.
Exactly. So there was big risk there for them. But do you think that if love were enough, we always say if love were enough, everyone would be saved?
If my family would have enabled me, given me money, allowed my madness to just kind of progress and not let me hit my bottom,
You would be done.
I wouldn't be here.
Okay. Wow. Pretty profound statement. So this show, this episode was very important to me, close to my heart. You have become my friend. You are out there in the community. You are out there making a difference. You're telling these stories, and there are so many people that are battling. And what's so important for you is to say, hey, look, pretty much if I can make it, you can make it. And I'm here to put a hand out to help you make it.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is our stories become so powerful for helping other people once we get a little bit of clean time under us and we can look back and see the process that we had to go through.
That's exactly right. And you're so calm and you're cool and collected, and your intake, you make the intake and admissions process very comfortable because people are probably very, uncomfortable walking through those doors, willingly or not.
Yeah, we see all types come through those doors. We see the people who are broken down and sad and just like ready for things to change. We see the people who are angry. We see the people who are confused. And it's just kind of trying to make that process as smooth as possible to get them into the building.
Got it. So hey everyone, look for Chris Duncan with Odyssey House. You are going to be all over at multiple events, sharing the Odyssey story, providing education, providing tools, providing information on how to contact them. And I highly recommend anyone to please check them out. Google them, check out the website. Is there a calendar of events?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
But I'm sure on the website, there's calendars. Odyssey House is pretty technical. So check them out. And we love you. And thank you for the work you're doing. I mean, you are the vessel changing lives. And literally, I know you don't like to be complimented. Literally doing God's work. You are the vessel. So thank you. We're glad you're still here, baby.
Yeah, me too.
You're here for a long time. Chris Duncan, check them out. Odyssey House of Flint, check them out. And again, they're all over. Again, they have locations all over. And like you said, Saginaw as well.
Saginaw, Port Huron.
Okay. They've got it covered. And if you are a family member or if you are an addict and you are struggling, please get in there. Thank you.
And I would like to say this last thing to the addict out there struggling that might be watching this. If you need help, please just give us a call, 810-238-5888, and we'll get you connected to the help you need.
Chris Duncan, Odyssey House, you definitely are hope for Flint.